Hey ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
What if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, a legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Doe?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do?
We get the people what?
The people are getting prepared for the NBA All-Star Weekend, but the fun part is on the Wednesday before the All-Star Weekend, almost every single franchise plays a game. There was a contest between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings, featuring some people that we talk about a lot, one being DeMarcus Cousins, better known as
Boogie!
Another being Draymond Green. Where's Draymond Green from, Jalen Rose?
Who are we? Saginaw Pride. All right.
Draymond got mixed up with Boogie, got a foul called on him, did not like the call. What did he do, Mr. Rose?
He was not happy.
No. He was so unhappy that he expressed his displeasure with the officials that led to one technical, continued to express his displeasure with the officials, led to a second technical foul. Is Draymond Green becoming a liability for the Warriors?
The answer to that question is a flat-out no, because his ability at 6'7" to get a triple-double without scoring 10 points, yet guard the other team's best post-up player and or center, yet grab the rebound and in transition make a play for himself and or for his teammates, that's a valuable commodity in today's game. That's not only a stretch four, but it's almost a physical four. He's inventing a new way we look at how the Warriors are able to play basketball. So I disagree with that statement, but I want to do a distinction that I was able to acknowledge when I saw those two gentlemen getting tangled up in the game.
Okay.
Now that the game isn't as physical, you can't hand check, you can't bump cutters, flagrant fouls, you're probably still on probation 10 years later for. You get ejected from games, they keep the number of technicals, and you can now be suspended for those number of technicals, as we saw in the past, happened to Draymond Green during the playoffs and DeMarcus Cousins during this season.
You accidentally hit someone on the head while they're about to shoot, then you end up getting a flagrant.
So here are the three distinctions I want you to pay attention to that are emotions that lead to either technical fouls or altercations with opponents or disagreeing with the officials. A court generalship that I want you to pay attention to for players. Three different ways. There used to be a level of intimidation in the game. See Charles Oakley. See the Davises in Indiana, where, oh, okay, you're going to drive to the basket? Oh, you're going to show me up after you make a three by thumping your chest and thumping your head and pointing up to the high heavens? All right, when you drive to the basket, we're going to put you on your backside and you're going to see stars. Bad boy style. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn style. That was intimidation. That is out of the game now. So now you'll see Russell Westbrook, when he wants to really mock Carmelo Anthony, he didn't admit it, but I've played enough basketball to see what he was doing. When he made a three, he hit his head a la Carmelo Anthony because we're thumping y'all and I just made buckets on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So back in the day for everybody, boys and girls, there was intimidation. Now when you watch players, it's either anger or emotion. When you're evaluating players, when you have teammates, you have to make this distinction quick. It's almost like the friend that you know that you can't take to certain places because it's one thing for him to talk about being about it. It's another thing for everybody to be like, man, chill out, man. We're trying to have a good time. You're going to ruin it for everybody. So Boogie is a la Rasheed Wallace. Emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Wears it on his sleeve with each and every play. When the call may or may not be questionable, and sometimes it may be accurate, he's going to have a reaction. Emotion.
Sure.
KG, on the other hand of Rasheed, was anger. Thumping himself in the chest, hitting his head on the backstop, cursing at himself. Never truly got into altercations. Ask Anthony Peeler, who gave him a two-piece.
I mean, I'm with you on this, Jalen. I'm following this 100%. I just want to make the distinction that anger is an emotion. But carry on.
Well, here's what I mean. Emotion means that it's not going to lead to a physical altercation, in my opinion. Anger leads that if I'm getting into it with you, an official, a coach, or something like that may end up in a physical situation. Russell Westbrook, when I watch him play, it's a level of anger. When I see Draymond Green play, he's teetering the line between both.
Interesting.
He's part emotion because you'll see him really get enthusiastic when the team's going well. You'll see him really have to carry the team's emotions on his shoulders because that's his role for the team. But you never really seen him want to get up and to have an altercation with somebody.
No, you don't.
And so what is happening with him is he's finding himself in that space to be the enforcer for the Golden State Warriors on a team full of players that are really monotone in a lot of ways. Steph isn't loud. Clay isn't loud.
I think that's an important thing to bring up. Like, they do kind of need Draymond to fulfill this role.
So they need that role. So because of that, I think he now has to find the distinction, just like I say, skill versus will, in approaching the game. Is his emotion leading to anger? And in the finals last year toward LeBron James, he took a swipe at his midsection. That anger led to him what? Being suspended for a game.
And it was also, a couple other low blows during the playoffs that he was sort of, caught doing.
Because of that, he's on the best team in basketball. He has to find a way to nurture the fact that I'm not going to win every play, every situation, every argument, but we got a chance to win 73 games because they've done that before. And I think he will. He's still a young player, and he understands his value to the team. So it's frustrating, I'm sure, for teammates and fans and media sometimes to see it play out, but it is a level of emotion that his team needs him to bring every night.
I'm gonna go with you on this one. I'm gonna go even further. I'm gonna say, not only is he not a liability, this emotion that he brings is actually helping the Warriors be better. Now, you see him getting into it with KD on the sidelines, and KD does an interview with Bill Simmons and says that he kind of needed that at that moment. And you do kind of need a wild card in your locker room. You do kind of need someone that keeps everybody on edge and someone that can also sort of represent the emotions that other players are suppressing. Like, I think he's important to this team, not in this role. Like, I think this means a lot to him. And I just want to throw this out there, though. That call wasn't that bad, Jalen. It wasn't that bad of a call. He was reaching. A Boogie felt him reaching and then went up towards the basket. Like, I understand that you get mad and official get a tech. I don't understand getting 2 techs from that one call, though.
That's the distinction that I'm describing. You would see Rasheed Wallace behave a certain way and have a level of emotion when he disagreed. You would see KG handle it a different way with anger. But yet it sometimes has the same result. And when Rasheed was in Washington and in Portland, just like Boogie right now in Sacramento, you would wonder, can you win with him being your best player when he's a wild card emotionally? Well, when you're carrying the entire emotions of the team, you're doing just that frequent. And once Rasheed got to Detroit, on nights when he got ejected in the first quarter, the guys continued to play. Exactly. On nights when he was able to keep it together and get inside, post up, take advantage of his matchups, and knock down threes and play defense because he's a really smart player, that's how they won the championship.
And we all know that you can definitely win with Draymond. He's got one championship, and they won 73 games in the regular season. We spoke about Draymond Green and his ejection last night against the Kings and his very memorable suspension in the NBA Finals. One thing I want to say, Jalen, too many people forget. Too many people point back to that suspension like that was the only thing that lost it for the Warriors. Yourself included, Jalen. I've been doing this show with you for a long time, and ever since the Finals, every time we bring up the Finals, what do you say?
If Draymond Green would have played in Game 5, the Golden State Warriors would have prevailed in that series.
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that for 1 second, Jalen Rose.
Who did you pick since December, January, February, regardless of the turbulence, to win a championship last year?
The Cleveland Cavaliers. I didn't pick them because maybe Draymond would be suspended. And if you watch that series, in Game 5 and 6 and 7, the Cavaliers had an edge. The Cavaliers kind of had it figured out from a strategic standpoint, not just because Draymond wasn't there. But Draymond, I've picked as one of the future great ex-athletes that comes into the media, just like our friend, my co-host, my brother Jalen Rose has. Draymond decided to tip his toe in the podcast game. He's got a new podcast called Dre Day. I believe it's put out through the Uninterrupted Network, which ties itself to Spring Hill, which ties itself to who?
You and Taj Gibson.
LeBron James.
You said Spring Hill. Oh, duh. That's LeBron James' production company with Max.
You're not reading Pablo Torre's great magazine articles. They're too long for you.
I was actually reading an email, actually. I didn't even hear the first part of what you said.
Here's one thing that Jalen and I know about podcasts, though. You can get real comfy. You know, you're sitting in a room by yourself. You're just sitting right there by yourself, and it's just you and your brother. Yeah, you know, there's no commercial breaks. There's no big lights. There's no producers around. There's no publicists just listening to everything you say. You can just get real comfy. And there's a reason that we always tell each other not to get fired, because it's real easy to forget that you're about to publish this and put it out to thousands of people on the internet that can listen to every single part of it in perpetuity for the rest of eternity. Well, Draymond's a little loose. And when they were discussing what everyone else is discussing, the Oakley event, James Dolan, the moves that he's made, what he did with Latrell Sprewell, and here was what Draymond had to say on it.
Why is it all of a sudden a problem now when he speak out on something that he don't like, and now you want to disown him from your entire organization? That's a slave mentality. You're doing it for me, it's all good, but now you're doing it against me, or not necessarily against me, but you're speaking out against my organization. It's not good anymore. That's a slave mentality, slave master mentality.
Simple question, Jalen Rose, did Draymond Green go too far?
Yes, because here I am as the elder statesman in this situation, truly understanding the word slavery when it gets invoked. It's almost such and so taboo that we should not go there in any way, shape, or form. What that did to create a level of genocide to generations and generations of black people can never be quantified by what takes place in professional sports as it relates to a former athlete having a disagreement with his owner about how the owner has been inept with running his franchise in that player's opinion.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's kind of how I feel about it. But obviously, being a white dude, it's hard to look at this through an African American's experience. You know what I mean? And obviously, events of slavery reverberate through generations and generations, where they still are the undertone of many interactions that we all have every single day, even though it's not spoken about.
I was able to, and I really love when these type of things happen when I'm on the air, because when you work in this business, it gives you a chance to have the first voice, and whether people pretend to be listening or not, you get to hear your word, and then you get to hear people disseminate what you said and kind of make it their own. And you sit back and stick out your chest and be like, I know they heard me say that. But they phrase it in their own ways. So I'm going to go back to what I said when this first broke that Sunday when Latrell Sprewell was his guest at the game. What James Dolan did was not a slave master mentality. What it was, I consider an art of war tactic. It's a vicious one, too, by the way.
Explain.
James Dolan, in the position of power, can now manipulate individuals that could carry more strength together by dividing them to his benefit. And so if LJ, who works for the team, Spree, who played for the team, and Oakley are all pulling in the same direction, that now puts them in a position of strength against said oppressor, in this case, James Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's able to fracture that relationship, he now, for public consumption, do a trade. And it's not the deadline yet. And what he did was trade 10 years of Charles Oakley's service to the New York Knickerbockers, the respect, showing up, playing hard every night, the admiration that the fans have for him because they felt like he represented the heartbeat of the town. 10 years of that service, and he traded it for 5 years of Latrell Sprewell's service, who had the exact same reputation to the fans. The difference is Sprewell's relationship, get ready for this, is even more strained with Dolan than Charles Oakley's was. So much so he hadn't been back to the Garden for 13 seasons. So now all of a sudden, said person in position of power using this vicious art of war tactic says, okay, I fell out with Charles Oakley publicly, but hey, look at me. I got LJ here, I got Spree here, I got Bernard King here. My organization is ranked #1 in Forbes. I'm doing a pretty good job, everybody. The things that you guys saying about me, though we haven't won a championship, I'm clearly doing well. The problem is that guy who was intoxicated at the game, who has to get the help that he needs, who had to get escorted out of the game, and who I'm not going to apologize to, yet I'll meet in privately with Adam Silver, and or lift the ban, and or even promise to do what? Have a Charles Oakley Appreciation Day to make it go away. That has no semblance of slavery, where blacks were deprived of their rights, their privileges, and were treated like property, like 3/5 of a man, so much so they couldn't even carry their own last name. That created a genocide that lasted and continues to carry and permeate itself throughout society in a lot of different shapes, forms, and fashions, even if you look at ownership. Because when you look at who owns teams, there is one black owner. He just so happens to be the greatest player of all time. Oh, that's right. I get it. Like Chris Rock says, I live in a nice neighborhood. There's Jay-Z. There's Mayor J. Blige. But then this dentist that lives next door, nobody knows who he is. Or the doctor that knows who he is. So I see where Draymond Green was going about the mentality. But to me, when Charles Oakley had an opportunity to play basketball, chase his life dreams and goals, and happened to be paid for it, and the NBA set to platform for us to continue to navigate for generations and make the kind of money that could take care of our family, take us out of the hood and put our kids in private school and change the dynamics of our family lifestyle, that does not resemble slavery.
Draymond Green, be careful on the podcast. I want the podcast to continue. Just be careful.
And that's my little brother.
Don't
get
get
fired.
fired.
I love him.
Don't get fired, Draymond. Don't get fired.
I'm going to make sure I get him on our program so we can kick science about this. I appreciate him being socially and politically conscious and where he was trying to go. But the term slavery, just like an apology, people don't necessarily have to come out and say, I'm sorry. I just acknowledge, would they do that again? And in this connotation and context and tone, I just think he misused that word in particular.
You'll never believe this, Jalen Rose, but there are other teams in the National Basketball Association aside from the New York Knicks.
No.
There are. One of which...
I was watching that last night when Oklahoma City was dragging them by 25.
Yeah, I turned that one off. I did watch the end of the Pacers-Cavs. And I noticed it was kind of close, and then it got closed out by LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are now without Kevin Love. There's a few things I want to talk to you about these Cleveland Cavaliers. The first one is this. We've now learned that Kevin Love tried to play through this knee injury for about 3 games before he had it scoped or looked at or whatever, and they found out that it needed surgery. This seems to be a news story, but to me, this is nothing. Is that something or nothing that Kevin Love tried to play through it?
It's always something when you're trying to play and compete and you're passionate about your profession, in this case basketball, for Kevin Love, who was enduring trade talks and possibly knew that there could be a chance that he was getting dealt. So it does mean something to me when players have the courage to try to go out there and tough it out and see if they can compete to help their teams win. But also as an athlete, you've had to find a distinction between being hurt and injured. And that clearly took place, which is why he ended up ultimately getting surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I think if something's bothering you a little bit, he's not a doctor. He doesn't know if he's got something torn or if he needs surgery, and he's just limping a little bit and saying, yeah, I can go, coach. You know, and he tries to do it. Here's what I want to talk to you about, Mr. Rose.
I bet you do that at home all of the time. Where's the rim shot when I need it?
No, you're not getting it for that. You know, when the Cleveland Cavaliers acquired a certain player by the name of Kyle Korver, what did you say in reaction to that move?
I'll say the way LeBron is playing, adding Kyle Korver, a three-point specialist, they are not a team to beat.
I've been watching Kyle Korver. He didn't exactly light everything up when he first joined the Cavs, but he has settled in somewhat. Most notably, in the last week and a couple days, there's been 2 games, both against the Indiana Pacers, one of which he went 8 for 9 from three-point, another of which he went 6 for 8 from three-point. He's also been 2 for 2 from three-point, 2 for 3 from three-point, and 2 for 5 from three-point in the last 5 games. It seems to me that Kyle Korver is starting to settle in. Kyle Korver is starting to find his role. What does this mean for the Cleveland Cavaliers?
It means once J.R. Smith gets back, they're going to surround the three-point line with snipers as Kyrie Irving and LeBron James drive and score and or to kick to open shooters.
Yep. And then there's this. LeBron James still leading the league in minutes played. LeBron James wants to play as many minutes as possible. If you are Ty Lue, if you are David Griffin, if you're whoever else is in the room, at the front office and the brass, as they call it, of the Cleveland Cavaliers, what do you do about this? Because he cannot continue to play at this pace.
There will be a period of time during the season where LeBron gets rest. And here's a period of time right now. He's not going to play competitive basketball for the next week. Remember, the NBA extended All-Star break. His team has a week off, so he's going to get that break. There will be times during the season, and I hate to say this, look, I'm glad I ain't looking at the schedule, because I go through and let some of the teams know who he ain't going to play against.
We'll do that
so
next week.
So the fans don't buy tickets. I'll put that on wax for y'all next week. So while his minutes will still be high. There still will be games that he missed. And also, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win the East. But if they have home court, it's going to be a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be the easiest as Toronto when I've added Serge Ibaka.
Upgrade.
As the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards have both won 9 of their last 10 games.
I think the Celtics make a move in the next week.
Because of those 3 teams, and you have to say the Atlanta Hawks because they do sit right at the 5th spot.
Do you,
Whatever it's worth. Whatever it's worth. With that being said, if they don't get the number 1 seed, man, the road gets tougher. More travel, closer games, extended series. Instead of winning in 5, you're now winning 6. Instead of winning in the sweep, you win in 5. Instead of going 6, you may end up going 7. Now the wear and tear that you fear plays out in this year's finals versus last year. When you look back at the entire duration of the playoffs when it started in mid-April to when the champions were crowned in June, he played limited basketball in that few-month period.
Does LeBron James take his talents to South Beach as he has in the past, just for a little weekend or so after the All-Star break?
When we pull out the schedule, I'm going to tell you the games he's going to miss, it can't be in South Beach. No D-Wade.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dwayne's not down there.
Now, he gets a chance to kick it with Melo during All-Star weekend.
If you're Carmelo Anthony and you find out that you are replacing Kevin Love on the All-Star team, you know he had a trip planned. You know him and Lala had a nice penthouse and a real nice 5-star something, their own little villa in the Maldives on top of the water. Is he a little disappointed that he has to go to All-Star?
Not in this case, because Carmelo Anthony, and a lot of people get on me about this, but he will have his number hanging in the rafters at Madison Square Garden one day.
You know he won't. What? He will not. You keep saying that, but I do not believe so.
He also will be going to the Hall of Fame.
What? That he will.
And because of those 2 distinctions, when you play on a team that's currently 23-34, you need to show up at All-Star Weekend, put on that jersey so everybody sees it's them, it ain't me. It's Dolan. Y'all see what he went through with Oak. It's Phil. Y'all see how inept he's been. Porzingis, I know y'all was loving him last year, saying we should turn the team over to him, but he ain't ready yet.
Yeah, he all right, but he's been a little down lately.
I didn't sign Noah. I didn't make that decision. So that's his opportunity to do that and kick it with LeBron. Hey, dude, can we rekindle this trade?
Yeah, what's
I know
happening?
Love is hurt, but what else y'all got going on? Can we get a 3rd team involved? Let's talk about this.
They're already talking about it. Yep. Jalen Rose, I want to talk to you about something, sir. Jalen?
What up, though?
Were you on your phone?
No, I was listening. You know I'll tell you if I was on the phone. I was on the phone earlier when you asked me about
You lying. Why you always lying?
Can't stand this program. I quit. You know what? Here's what should happen. For the next 3 months, why don't we just take my name off the show and just call it David Jacoby?
I love that
Let's
idea.
do that.
I love that idea.
You know
what we should probably do is you should just do a segment and then I'll do a segment. We'd both be so much happier. You know, because we both want to get our shots up. Let's just do that. We'll switch off.
We'd be KD and Westbrook.
Yeah. So, Jalen, you have a production company, 3-Tier Entertainment.
Yes, sir.
I'm a producer.
By trade.
We live in Los Angeles.
Get it.
We fancy ourselves as entertainment executives, media.
Fancy, huh?
Budding media moguls.
You fancy, huh? We got a lot
One day we'll
of
get
heat
there.
we're going to bring to the people, too. We got a lot of good ideas we're going to bring to
And some of the things you have to do in this position of a wannabe media mogul is you have to evaluate projects and just see whether or not it'll work. I've got 3 projects that have been announced, and we're going to grade them from 1 to 100. I just made that up. And here they are. A movie and a book about Tom Brady's journey to winning Super Bowl 51 is in the works. So we're going to start with Deflategate, court case. He gets suspended. It's unjust. And then he returns to the field and leads the Patriots to a come-from-behind Super Bowl victory and is handed the trophy by Roger Goodell, his nemesis. 1 to 100.
I would say my personal level of interest, 50.
Yeah, I'm like 60 maybe.
Everybody else's level of interest, because he got a lot of fans.
He had a lot of
groupies.
fans, but
And also he got a lot of people who really don't know the sport but know his accomplishments. So I would say the level of enthusiasm for everybody else would be 90%.
I'm going 60 on that one. I'd love to see who they cast for Giselle. Next one. Malcolm Butler
Wrong place, wrong time.
is having a movie made about him.
It's a shame what happened to Flip.
Malcolm Butler is the hero of the last Patriots Super Bowl 2 years ago. We all know the goal line interception, his rise from unknown to Super Bowl hero. 1 to 100, your level of interest.
I'm always interested to see how people go from their background to making it to be a professional athlete and a champion. So I can't say none. So I'll say 15%.
Wow. I'm going above Tom Brady. Just like I'm going 61% because the Tom Brady story we all know. The Malcolm Butler story is interesting to me. And I don't like spoilers. I don't like going to movies knowing what's going to happen. And I don't know all about Malcolm Butler's background.
You're not being real. Hit the brakes.
No, I'm being real.
All right, hit the brakes for you, please.
All right, I'll hit the brakes. You never said please to me in my entire life.
Thank you. Here's what I mean by level of interest. You don't run your household. Who runs your household?
My kids, my wife.
Okay, so you guys have a Saturday. Somebody's going to watch the kids.
What?
You guys got a chance to go to the movies.
Ooh.
Woo!
Whoa.
And there's Tom Brady's movie, and there's Malcolm Butler's movie. And 60% of you want to see Tom Brady's. And you say more percentage of you want to see Malcolm Butler's. What movie y'all going to see?
First of all, you started by asking who runs the family, right? You know it's my wife, right?
Correct.
She ain't going to see either of those, Jalen Rose.
Okay.
She's not. If there's a football helmet involved, she is not going to watch the movie.
Jacoby, what did my level of interest be?
15.
Okay, that's my point. You ain't seeing it.
But what about this one, Mr. Rose?
Okay.
Kyrie
I got you
Irving.
Good. I got you good on that one.
And his famous Uncle Drew character. A movie is in the works where Kyrie plays Uncle Drew. He has a new commercial out with JB Smoove. It's pretty funny. My level of interest is pretty high for this one.
My level of interest is high for that one, too, because that can be kid-friendly if done properly.
And it can be funny. See, one thing about like a biopic, it's like you have certain lines you have to stay within based on the story, but with Uncle Drew, it's a completely made-up character. All we know about him is he's old and he gets buckets. And you can create an entire world around that. His origin story, his friends. He's probably, let me guess, he's got a posse of 4 friends and they barnstorm around playgrounds and get buckets. I love this. I'm in on Uncle Drew. I'm in on the Uncle Drew film.
75% Uncle Drew.
I'm at 80. I'm at 80 on Uncle Drew. I love the Uncle Drew movie. I want it to be made. Here's my one problem with it, Jalen Rose. What product does Uncle Drew support and sponsor?
The one that not only Laverne and Shirley helped popularize by mixing with milk, but my near and dear loving mom did as well. Pepsi.
First of all, there was a bet in Vegas, who on Jalen and Jacoby makes the first Laverne and Shirley reference? I was 2 to 1. You were 1,000 to 1. I'm so proud of you for making the Laverne and Shirley reference. I love Laverne and Shirley. I love Laverne and Shirley. I love Laverne and Shirley. Underrated. And we've spoken about your mom mixing Pepsi and milk before, and I've decided I have to try it.
What?
When we get back on TV, just like the great Mrs. Rose, I'm going to get the recipe, make sure I have the mix right. Is it 1-to-1? Is it 2-to-1? A little more milk, a little more Pepsi, and I will try it right on camera.
Awesome.
On this show.
And if you want to see something else that we did as a precursor, you have to Google the Bill Simmons eating a nutmeg.
Oh, it was cinnamon, the cinnamon challenge.
Cinnamon.
Bill Simmons cinnamon challenge is one of the greatest things that's ever happened in this studio. We've been trying
Are we back on YouTube yet?
We've been trying to top that ever since. We will be back on YouTube.
Man.
We will be back on YouTube. We want to launch appropriately. We don't halfway do things at Jalen and Jacoby. Oh wait, I'm sorry. We only halfway do things on Jalen and Jacoby. We're not even halfway there.
Crooks.
We're not even there yet with halfway. But my one problem with this film is that it's a Pepsi commercial. I just don't want it to turn the film into a Pepsi commercial. Let's just say, hey,
Agreed.
Pepsi, you'll be happy. We'll throw some cans in there. But we can't have the whole thing be like a Pepsi movie. Because then you can just, like the audience can just smell corporate America when they have their fingers on art. You know what I mean? So I hope that corporate America is smart enough to let this be more art and less commerce than normal.
And a big shout and congratulations to Shane Battier, fellow Michigander, who was announced to be a member of the Miami Heat front office.
Really?
And don't sleep on this greasing the skids, as I talked about on this program, for a Dwayne Wade return.
And we putting it on wax.
An unidentified man decided that he wanted to get a Tom Brady tattoo on his left butt cheek.
What?
Tattoo artist Catarina Quintino gave him that tattoo. It took 2 or 3 hours. Now there's a man with Tom Brady's face on his butt cheek. What's your reaction when you hear this? As an ex-athlete yourself.
This is when keeping it fan goes wrong.
Crazy.
So wrong.
And if he's unidentified, how are we discussing it?
Because ESPN sends out emails with a bunch of news on them, and that's what it says on the email with a bunch of news on it. However, Jalen Rose, you're forgetting something. Once upon a time, you and I were part of a fantasy football marathon. And, of course, in classic Jalen and Jacoby style, they put us as part of the marathon. 24 is 36 hours of fantasy football analysis. They put us on. We appreciate the look. When did they put us on, Jalen Rose?
During the wee hours of the morning, and I ain't going to talk about something that happened off wax, a DM I got.
I don't know what that means, but what we
You know
witnessed,
what it means, and you know who sent it.
What we witnessed during that taping was a fantasy football loser getting a Tom Brady tattoo. He's a Buffalo Bills fan.
But I called him out immediately because it looked like he was trying to get Tom Brady, but it was number 12, and he was really getting Jim Kelly.
It's a great point by you. Same colors of the uniform, and there's no real Tom Brady-ness to it, and he can just tell everybody it was a Jim Kelly tattoo. And I think that his league knew it too. It's one of those bets you make when you feel bad when you win. You know, you ever make those bets? You feel bad when you win?
Nah.
You know what? You've made a lot of bets around here with the staff, with myself, and I think you've paid off exactly 0 of them. Let's be honest.
Well, we had a fantasy football league that the winners still haven't gotten paid.
I paid.
Reg never sent any updates every week.
Did you pay? Did you pay?
I'll pay when I get back.
No, that's a straight up answer. Did you pay?
No, there's no excuse for that either.
So, don't you owe a couple lobster dinners to some people in the staff? You owe me
No,
about
the
100
other way
pull-ups.
around. No.
You owe me about 100 pull-ups.
No, that's the other way around on the lobster dinners.
Well, big shout out to that super fan. Adrian Peterson, running back. He'll go to the Hall of Fame. On the Minnesota Vikings. If the Minnesota Vikings keep him, they owe him $11.75 million.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money.
It's probably not worth that. There's some rumors that they'll ask him to restructure his contract, or they will straight up cut him. Well, he got his Twitter fingers out, And he said this simple sentence, which I want you to translate. The Giants have been making some interesting moves. Before you translate, they recently cut Victor Cruz and Rashad Jennings. Is he auditioning for the Giants on Twitter?
He was auditioning for the Giants on First Take. But he also was talking about a couple of other teams. Did you say there's a chance they're going to ask him to take a pay cut or release him?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, he's going to go to the highest bidder / the best team.
Do you think Adrian Peterson is no longer going to be a Minnesota Viking?
I think they'll find a way to work it out.
I do not. Le'Veon Bell released the cover art for his upcoming mixtape, which
I agree with you. I don't think Adrian Peterson will be with the Vikings next year either.
Oh, I'm glad you thought about that, Mr. Rose. I appreciate you interrupting me to get that out there. Anyway, Le'Veon Bell is dropping a mixtape about Skip Bayless. Is this a misguided way of starting your rap career? Like, I understand one song, the second song felt a little obsessive, and now like an entire mixtape. Like, come on, Le'Veon, you gotta show some more pitches. You gotta show me more versatility than just dissing Skip Bayless.
I look at the intention initially that, he was putting something on wax.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw him on their show. So at that point, I just think he's getting his bars off, and he now knows that he has a location where they're going to play him on television.
I feel like he's doing Skip Bayless a favor now.
Correct.
I think at this point it's more beneficial for Skip Bayless that Le'Veon Bell raps about him than it is for Le'Veon Bell. Quick question. Should Terrell Owens be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, but everybody don't get their undies in a bunch. He'll get in one day. Relax, everybody. He'll get in.
You sure?
He'll get in.
Vince Young hired an agent to make a comeback to play professional football. What are the chances out of 100 that he will be invited to a camp? That he will just be invited to a camp, get some team-issued socks from an NFL team this year?
He could get invited, maybe 20%.
I'm at their less. I'm going to be like 5%. Is Roddy White going too far when he said he wanted to punch Kyle Shanahan for his Super Bowl play calling?
Nope. Yes, because he wasn't on the team this year.
Yeah, he's not on the team. But he was rooting for the Falcons. He's a Falcon. A Falcon stalwart.
No, I think he did a good job of getting him there. You got to give him some credit.
Okay.
And I like Roddy White.
I like Roddy White, too. Nothing against Roddy White. John Calipari is going to be named the USA Men's Under-19 World Championship team head coach. Is this like kind of a Harbaugh move where there's side benefits to the gig? Like how Harbaugh's hiring someone who just so happened to have a son who's going to be up to be a quarterback in 2019. Is Calipari just continuing to strengthen his stronghold over youth basketball and filtering the best players to his team?
It's actually a Mike Krzyzewski move.
Oh, okay.
Who coaches not the 19 and under players. He actually coaches the NBA players who get on the phone and or get in front of microphones and help promote his program. And thus helps recruiting on that level, which is the elite level of influence. 1. 2, yes, this is now, after that, a Jim Harbaugh-ish type move. But Cal's already done this. He did it when he coached the international team to get Karl Anthony Towns.
He was the coach of the Dominican Republic team, which, he just wanted to do his best for the people of DR and just help out in their program because, it's a country that needs help developing their basketball programs much more than the United States of America. He just did it out of the kindness of the heart. It had nothing to do with the fact that Karl Anthony Towns was on the team, right, Jalen?
No.
Nothing to do with that, right, Jalen?
No.
He wouldn't do anything nefarious like that, would he? Not Coach Cal.
Win at all costs.
Well, your man Harbaugh and Coach Cal are very successful at being college coaches. Winning at all costs.
Yep.
So, Jalen, I want to talk to you about a fight to the death. In Australia, in a warehouse, one of the most venomous spiders in the world, a redback spider, was locked into a battle with the eastern brown snake, the world's number 2 most venomous snake, capable of killing a human with one bite. You watched this epic battle to the finish. And when I say snake versus spider, what would you just immediately think happened?
Spider has no chance.
Exactly. But do you know what happened, Jalen Rose?
Down goes Frazier.
Spider has the snake kind of wrapped up in a web. Spider comes in. It approaches kind of like midway down the snake just to not get bit. Gives him the death blow. After what we've recently been covering with the kangaroo apocalypse, the impending kangaroo apocalypse, violent kangaroos.
Bet you tell it.
Spread all over Australia, attacking joggers, clawing at windows, trying to get inside human homes so they can habitate, whatever they mean, habitate those Australian homes. Kangaroos are trying to take over, and now we got spiders and snakes. Does this discourage you from going to the great country of Australia?
No, I think it's an overreaction by David Jacoby.
All right, different question. If you worked at a warehouse where you saw a killer snake get killed by a killer spider, would you show up to work the next day?
I would not, because first of all, let me tell you what happened on that video that kind of horrified me.
And you can Google it. It's easy to find. Spider versus snake.
So I'm that kind of person that kind of dismisses spider webs. Like, I just knock it down with my hand. Just knock it down with anything. It's no big deal. You know?
Spider webs
tall.
can't mess with Jalen
I have
Rose.
big feet, you know?
As someone
I'll just swat a spider down.
As someone is tall, you do get your head caught up in some spider webs that are there because not everybody is as tall as you.
And I'm like, wait a minute. This snake is about to handle this spider, no big deal. And all of a sudden, put that web out there, and like you said, put that death blow on him. I would not want to show up to work. And here's the other thing. It gave me a newfound respect for spiders. I got to stop underestimating them. I started taking them for granted a little bit.
You did. That's one thing about you. People ask me what Jalen Rose is like. I say, you know one thing about Jalen? Take spiders for granted. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's a great partner. He's just a warm, great friend and colleague, but he takes spiders for granted.
Got what I need.
Jalen Rose, you also saw the picture of Phil Jackson on a bus. One thing I want to say about this picture, I don't think it's real. This was flying around Twitter last night. Phil Jackson on a bus wearing some lime green Nikes, taking up 2 seats. Ugh. Do you think that was legitimately an actual real picture of Phil Jackson riding a New York City bus in the midst of all of this turmoil?
Let me tell you something. You think it's hard to get a cab in New York City. Phil Jackson couldn't even flag down a bus.
Oh, you're going
the way he running the Knicks.
I love what you're doing. Bus driver wouldn't stop for Phil Jackson.
Bus driver would not stop for him. Keep going.
Bus driver would not stop for Phil Jackson. That had to be fake. Great point, Jalen. Great point. I didn't even think of that angle. I thought it was maybe photoshopped or it was like from 10 years ago. But I would say that as someone who spent a lot of time in New York City, if you're in the outer boroughs, sometimes buses are necessary. Take the train to the bus. Train doesn't cover as much ground. If you're in Manhattan, unless you're going across town through the park, there's really no reason to be on the bus.
No. Man, the kind of money he got, he could jump on a helicopter.
Exactly. I just feel like Phil getting on the bus would be a worse decision than Joakim Noah's contract. We're going to open up our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter questions, Twitter feed. We asked you, because I have a personal vendetta against the NBA skills contest. I just believe it should be replaced. So we asked you to replace it for us. And here's what someone who comes across my Twitter feed often, a gentleman by the name of Chris True, what Chris True does is he sits a couple rows behind the opposing bench at Pelican games, takes observations, maybe heckles a little bit, gets inside people's heads. He's a good follow at Chris True. He said this, mascot half-court challenge. Pierre T. Pelican would dominate, but that's besides the point. Have you seen, I believe Pierre has been replaced by the King Baby. Have you seen King Baby?
No, sir.
We'll Google that, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. In a similar vein, Minus had this suggestion. Mascot dunk contest would be a cool watch. Would you rather watch a mascot dunk contest that included trampolines and all the fixins, or the NBA skills contest? Be honest.
We're barely able to watch the NBA players do a dunk contest.
I love the dunk contest. That's on you. You're alone on that one. I'm very excited for the NBA
I'd
dunk
definitely
contest.
rather see the skills competition.
No, you wouldn't. That's a lie, Jalen.
I have some favorite mascots. Boomer in Indiana, Rocky in Denver. I have a
Benny
lot of
the
respect.
Bull?
Benny the Bull, no question.
Would you rather watch them dunk or Bill Laimbeer throw a bounce pass into a net?
I would rather watch Boogie Cousins do it.
Okay. East versus West battle rap. That's what Jay wants.
My brother to the east.
East versus West battle rap.
Here's the problem with that. You major markets do it all the time. You forget about the South and the Midwest. You do it all of the time.
No, Eastern Conference versus Western Conference. There is no South Conference. There is no Midwest Conference.
Oh, okay.
They want the actual NBA players to be in a battle rap.
Nah.
I like this one. Father-son 2-on-2 tournament. This
like
is from
that
Allen. Austin and Doc
it's not enough
Rivers.
groups.
Listen, Austin and Doc Rivers, LeBron and Bronny, Steph and Dell, Clay and Michael Thompson. 4 is enough.
What about next year?
What do you mean next year? You don't think Austin and Doc will be talking next year because they traded Austin to the Knicks for Carmelo?
My point exactly.
Oh, Reg gives me the rim shot. Jalen has to ask for it. Thank you, Reg.
Right.
Thank you, Reg.
He gets the Erykah Badu treatment.
This is good right here. This is from The Real Anonymous. What about an NBA talent show set up like America's Got Talent? I like that idea. I would rather watch that than someone throw a bounce pass into a net. Seriously. That'd be fun. Dame Lillard could rap. Someone else could dance. Someone else could, paint a picture.
Not rolling.
Really?
Not rolling.
I'm not gonna be able to do.
All right, what about this? A game of 21 with the winner landing a roster spot on the All-Star team.
Not rolling.
The problem with that is there's no rules in 21.
Too hypothetical.
Do you play with rules in 21?
There is no rules. Got to
There's
take
no
it
rules.
back, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
When it's 100 people playing, they play fake tip out.
Yeah, I don't play the tip out stuff. But for me, there's no rules. There's no such thing as a foul. I'll allow you to have the ball. I think defense can call a foul if I really do something I shouldn't have. But there's no out of bounds. There's no rules. It would just get crazy. I wouldn't do that. I love the father-son 2-on-2 game. I think that would be a lot of fun. I love the mascot dunk contest. I just want the NBA skills competition to be replaced with, and I've said it before, a rangefinder competition where we've got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson going back and forth just from half court, extending the range deep from the basket.
Wake me up before you go.
That's Jalen Rose's version of Adele's version of a George Michael tribute from the Grammys.
Yep.
You know what that music means, Mr. Rose? We're going to open up the hotline. You call 98580-JALEN. You leave us a message. We listen to them, and we respond. We love this segment because we get to hear you, our listeners. Let's listen to the first voicemail.
Hey, my buddy gave himself the nickname Cadillac. It's a great nickname. He can't do that, right?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the call. When he said my buddy gave himself the nickname Cadillac, I had the same response that he did. Like, that's a pretty good nickname. Yep. Like, that's a good nickname. It represents luxury. It represents Detroit-built working-class steel. from the General Motors Corporation. But you can't give yourself a nickname. You just
That was
can't.
very nice, Jacoby. Way to represent the D. I appreciate that.
Of course. My grandfather worked for the General Motors Corporation in Detroit.
Wow.
Here's the thing, though. You can't give yourself a nickname. You just can't. What you can do, let me give Cadillac some advice. If you want to give yourself a nickname, you got to slow play it. You know? You just got to work it in little by little. You can't just wake up one morning and say, everybody call me Cadillac. You know? You just kind of have to subconsciously start using the word Cadillac a little bit more. You know? Maybe replace Cadillac with dope in your vocabulary for a while. People just hear you saying it a lot and it's unique. And then maybe they'll start calling you Cadillac. That's what you do.
I'm rolling with you on that. The best nicknames were created, like Magic. He could have created that for himself.
You know what? I wait, Jalen, hold on. I can't. I have the perfect example. You know what the best nicknames of all time is? The Fab Five. What did y'all want to call yourselves?
5 times.
Exactly. That's what happens when you make up your own nickname. Thank you so much for the call.
How about this, though? There have been cases that it worked out. Not only somebody gave themselves a nickname, but they took somebody else's. Kobe Bryant. Roger Mayweather is the Black Mamba. DeAnthony Thomas, who plays in the NFL, brought it to life, and Kobe's like, I like that.
Uma
That's
Thurman.
me.
Uma Thurman is the Black Mamba. You know who Uma Thurman is?
I do.
Big shout to Amherst, Massachusetts, bred Uma Thurman. I watched Kill Bill over the weekend. I was on a Tarantino kick. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Hey, guys. Thanks very much for the show. Doing a great job. Given the longevity and given the dominance in college as well as the NBA accolades, can you make a case against why Kareem is not the GOAT? Thanks very much.
So let me gather around, boys and girls.
Okay.
Get next to the campfire.
Okay.
You must learn.
I got a marshmallow.
A couple of things. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell both grew up in eras where it was important for the athlete to be politically and socially conscious.
Preach.
There was a time in our country where African Americans were called to drink from separate fountains, to eat at specialized establishments, to go to segregated schools. Therefore, those who spoke up about the country's injustice, Muhammad Ali is in this category, along with Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they were ostracized by the mainstream media. Now, when you look back at their accomplishments and how our country understands now that it was hideous that period of time in our country, those athletes were ultimately forgiven for their stance. But man, it took decades. Look no further than Muhammad Ali, who was hated in a lot of ways by so many people. Yet I'm happy to say before his passing, he ended up being loved and adored. Russell falls in this category, 11 championships in 13 years, first African-American coach in the history of the league. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who won 4 championships in high school, 3 in college, probably 4 freshmen would have been allowed to play, 6 in the NBA, 6 MVPs, and has not only the signature shot in NBA history, the skyhook, just so happens to be the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He's the greatest champion on each level the game has seen, while Russell is the greatest champion the NBA has seen. As our country transpired to a new era, a.k.a. the Jordan era, the 90s in particular, while he's the most dynamic, spectacular player, as Larry Bird would say, he's Jesus in gym shoes. To me, I can say that's the best basketball player that I've seen. But to people that I respect that are older than me, they're like, wait a minute, pump the brakes, young fella. The accolades you just said, even Michael Jordan can't take them high scores down. So that's why Jacoby hates cross-era
I don't do
comparisons.
That's my thing. I don't do cross-era comparisons because the game evolves, the human beings evolve, the technology evolves. So you can't really compare the life, the coaching, the nutrition, the growing knowledge, the intelligence, the basketball IQ that is passed down from generation to generation. You really can't compare Michael Jordan to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because so much had transpired between their careers.
And again, who picks who's going to start in the All-Star game?
Fans?
Who picks the MVP?
Media?
If those two people are against you in the 60s, ain't no way that people going to say you're the greatest of all time.
Let's listen to the next voicemail. Well done, Jalen Rose.
What's up, Jacob and Jabroni? This is Bettina from Virginia, long-time listener, many-time caller. I got a question for Jacob. I know you're a big pizza fan. If you have to order a fast food pizza, what are you getting? And if you're at the grocery store, what kind of frozen pizza are you getting? Just curious. Want to know. Keep giving with people what they want because that's what's up, though. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, if you say what's up, Jacob and Jacoby, you're getting on the show. Okay? You're going to be on the show. I think he said Jacob and Jabroni, and I'll take that. I'll take that too. Yep. Second of all, he does listen to the show because I'm definitely a pizza man. I was once a professional pizza purveyor in my youth. I'll throw the dough up in the air, spin around, catch it behind my back. Two great questions. First, I'm going to tackle the frozen pizza. Every Wednesday, I had to make myself dinner because my mother was out working. And every Wednesday, I had Mama Celeste Supreme Pizza. Mama Celeste is my girl. Supreme Pizza, just the taste of the peppers and the sausage and the onions and the burning sensation on the roof of my mouth when I eat that first slice. Remember it like it was yesterday. Still, I've been known to have a Mama Celeste Supreme Pizza from time to time. And of course, family size, not personal. Personal's too small. If I was just ordering regular pizza, it goes a lot of different ways. I like to switch it up. There's nothing wrong with a pepperoni, though. And if I'm ordering a fast food pizza, which I rarely do, I just don't. I'm using Domino's because the app is fun to work. Yep. I don't have it on my phone, but it's a fun. It makes ordering pizza like a video game. Yep. They did something really smart with that. Jalen Rose, your go-to pizza.
My go-to pizza is called Pizza Populis in Detroit.
Don't talk to me about seafood pizza.
And it's seafood pizza.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay.
Deep dish.
Well, here's
as a matter of fact.
I didn't bring it up when you were there at my house. But one thing that Jalen Rose always does is he likes to bring a pizza pie when he comes to visit my house. I've got a lot of children. They all like pizza, and my wife is usually cooking or something. So you bring a pizza, we all split it up, get a little something to eat like an appetizer.
Munchy. Yeah.
And Jalen brings the sausage and onion, which is a great classic combination.
Yes.
It's a classic combo. I love the voicemails. Let's do another one.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby. My name is Trent from Miami, Florida. Watch you guys, listen to you guys every day while I'm at work. My question is, what is your advice for breakups? And what are some things that you've done right after some past relationships? Keep giving the people what they want.
Trent, I have some news for you. If you need advice on how to break up with someone, that's a great problem to have. Because I've been on the other side of it, man. You don't want to get that as a surprise. You know? You don't want to get that as a surprise. You don't want to be on the other side of that one. So if you need advice on how to communicate with someone you don't want to be with them anymore, listen, that's a great problem to have. Because what you don't want to do is be on the other side of that conversation.
Here's what I want to say about that. It's phony if you tell that person you love them today and then you break up with them tomorrow. You're the actual issue, in my opinion. And I agree with David Jacoby. To be on the other side of that is foul. It's heartbreaking. However, when you get into a relationship, the first thing you should be is what, Jacoby?
Single?
When you get into a relationship, you should not only be single, but when you get into a relationship with that person, you hope that you are, before you become, you hope that you're friends.
Oh, okay. I like that.
And what shouldn't you do to your friends? Deceive them? Lots of them?
Hurt them?
Hurt them?
Not support them?
Not support them? And not be honest with them. So that would be my advice. Don't do that to people. It's not cool.
One thing we do on Jalen and Jacoby, we open up our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed and we take feedback from our audience. We don't talk about ourselves too much. We don't really do the show about the show too much. But today I said, you know what I want to hear from the people? I want to hear some feedback. We say we give the people what they want, but we rarely ask the people directly what they want us to do. That's an oversight.
That's why when I do appearances and or speaking engagements, I don't want to go to talk about what I want to hear myself say.
Ooh.
Who's going to be in the audience? What's trending amongst the individuals that are going to be present? What's valid and legitimate that they actually want to hear? So I appreciate all of our J&J supporters since day one, and we have tough skin. It's okay to give us some feedback that we may or may not like.
You ready?
Let's get it.
Great idea from Smokey Rondo. Since you guys love international callers, dedicate a day to their voicemails. It's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we do that? Well, one thing is, and I don't even mind, we'll get a bunch of people lying about where they are. I'm cool with it. You know, you can say you're in Madagascar if you're just in Michigan. That's fine. I don't know the difference.
No, you can't promote that.
We're not looking up IP addresses, Jalen. We're not looking up zip codes.
I know, but we value integrity.
Great point.
You know, that's what makes our program authentic. This is why we got so many Mr. Me Too's that watch our program and like PMD would eloquently say, my brother from
yeah, you too. Okay, everybody meet Mr. Me Too.
PMD would say, biting our business formats and techniques like rabies. Yep. We welcome our international callers, and so please be legitimate. Don't perpetrate the fraud. Love the idea.
I like the idea too. Big Crown.
That's your man.
That's my man. I said he was in California. He tweeted at me, got mad. My bad, Big Crown. He's a mail carrier. Earlier this month, I bet you didn't know, it was National Thank Your Mail Carrier Day. What? I didn't know that. My apologies for missing that one, Big Crown. He says, one way to improve the show. You guys should hire Gilbert Arenas for the Don't Get Fired segment. I have a couple problems with this one. When you say hire, that means we'd have to pay him. Okay, we ain't got the budget for that.
We have zero budget. Can't you guys tell that we're doing a podcast and not a television show for the next 2 weeks? That's no accident.
And that segment, the Don't Get Fired segment, would get us both fired. They'll get all three of us fired.
And then you wouldn't be able to enjoy us, Big Crown, when you're on your route.
Yeah, Big Crown. Think about your days after that. Big shout to you, Big Crown. Next one we have, and this is one I want to talk to you about. This is from David Norton. I'm glad he used his government name.
Hey, Norton.
Great references from you today, Jalen. And see, we get some questions or suggestions that are lightly worded, and then some of them are just kind of orders, you know? They're just commands. Like this one. Make Jalen explain more movie plots. And how do I explain? We were going to that move too often. If you're like Kevin Love and all you do is dribble twice and then take a jump hook over your left shoulder, everybody knows it's coming. We went to that move too often, David Norton. So now it's got to be a little more organic, a little more natural. If a movie comes up in conversation, I'll hit him with it. But I felt like that got a little played out over time. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
Agreed.
Yep. This is a similar piece of feedback. Bring back the Family Feud segment once in a while. Now, I agree with this.
Me too.
We had a lot of
games,
fun.
period.
We should just play games. We should play games. It's good for the summertime when the news slows down a little bit. Because
and you know what else too? I'm sorry, is that you gotta embrace what you're great at. Like, you look at me funny when I don't want to play basketball. I'm like, my knees sore, my shoulder injured. You play way more than me.
Mm-hmm.
You're great at Family Feud. We should be doing it more often.
I am great at Family Feud. And it's just another way to show off my abilities. I should be embracing this. You know what? As someone who controls the rundown, I'm going to put Family Feud at least three segments a show. There was a part of me, though, because, I respect the opportunity that the Entertainment Sports Network has given us by allowing us to be on the ESPN app, to be on SiriusXM Channel 80, to have a podcast distributed from them. That sometimes I think about that man or woman that gets in their car and they're on their drive home. And when they go to SiriusXM Channel 80, they want sports. And we give them Family Feud. So we can't go to the well too many times with that one either. But we will definitely go back to that well.
Yep.
Next one is this from Will. Again, not a question, just an order. Oh, no, he said suggestion. Suggestion, comma, bring a guest on the show who is more Michigan than Jalen Rose is. I want to hear what up, though. It's a great question for you, Jalen. Who is more Michigan than Jalen Rose?
I'm not going to say this person is more Michigan, but there are a few people that carry the Detroit flag real high. And my little brother got the #1 album in the country.
Yep.
Big Sean.
Yep.
I need to get him on the program. We've already had Royce the 5'9" on.
Mm-hmm.
Want to have him on again.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I'm into it right now. Tweet Big Sean, all listeners of the program, and let him know that we would love to have him on the guest between his flights from LAX to Detroit.
Here's the thing about Big Sean's album. Albums grow on me. When I listen to them the first time, sometimes I'm like, I just like the singles, or, this kind of disappointed me or whatever. Big Sean's album, on a jog, listen to it from front to back. It was excellent. It has a theme. There's really well-positioned skits and intros and communications. There's a great song about his mother. It's just a really, really well put together album that you can listen to from front to back. It is not just a collection of songs. It is an album. It is a piece of art that is meant to be consumed, not already cut up for you. You got to eat the whole steak. It's a great album. Finally, this is excellent. It's from Jake Rosen. We're going to end with this one. His suggestion is, nothing specifically comes to mind, but it should involve Leroy from The Challenge.
I thought he was going to say Leroy from Fame. I'm going to live forever, light up the sky like a flame. Fame! Did you know Debbie Allen, who I love, and her husband, Norm Nixon, who I also want to have on the program, gave me my first facial. What? While I was watching the NBA Finals, Knicks in Houston. And before you know it, the next game, the OJ chase happened. True story.
What?
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast.
Thank
As
you.
always, we love and respect our podcast listeners. Everyday listeners are our favorite listeners. Continue to call in to 98580-JALEN. Tweet us at Jalen and Jacoby, and we'll continue to try to.